let's start with this one. Semi-final week. We heard from Cameron Ciraldo, who would say this when the side that you're playing against in the last round puts 44 on you. But is it a brand new competition come semi-final time?
Definitely is. It's a new mindset, So you put aside you in the background, what's you achieved through the year. I heard Cameron talk after the game, and it wasn't obviously a great performance, but they do deserve to be in the finals.
Yes.
They've played really good rugby league through the year, defensively been outstanding. So, yeah, they deserve to be there. It is a reset in mentality, and honestly, with a reset mentality, your mindset gets refreshed, and you can't wait to move on. You can't wait to be successful.
Yeah. What's the greatest example? Your time with the Souths in Brisbane, or with the Canberra Raiders, where either things were going really well. I know the injury to Ricky Stewart in '93, and then it changed in the finals, or things weren't going that well, and then that changed in the finals.
Well, it's interesting. Like when we won our first ever premiership in '89, we were under the pump. We had to win every game, leading into the finals. I think it was something like we had to win 6 straight just to even make the finals, and we snuck into the top, obviously it was top 5 in those days. We snuck in at 4th, and then and we're fatigued, so we're in a state of flux because we had to work really hard to get there, and then we made it, and from our point of view, my memories really is that we just reset and we just wanted to prove that we deserved to be there, and which we did, so we kept on. We had momentum, of course, which is really important, but we had a few injured, tired bodies, fatigued bodies, so we just made sure that we stuck together really strong, and wanted to show the world that we're a good footy team.
Yeah, so that was on the back of, and this goes back to that old saying, didn't it? You had to lose one to win one. So you were there in '87, so you took all those learnings out of that. '88, you're in the finals as well, so you sort of knew what you could do if you got there, I suppose.
Well, it's not only that. I think we had a pretty young side, so
right.
And the Laurie Dahlys and the Bradley Clydes and Ricky Stewarts, they weren't known. They weren't considered, great players at that time. The Tigers, the Balmain Tigers, were the favourites in that particular game. Obviously, going into it, and they had they had momentum too, and they had some of the best players in the game playing. Benny and Walker and Ciro, those sort of characters who have done that, been there, done that before as well. So we're sort of the up and coming side, weren't we? We're the side that we had some had the Belchers and. I was there obviously, and no one knew about Glenn Lazarus. No one really. Steve Walls was starting to make his mark. Bradley Clyde, Dean Lance was there with Ashley Gilbert. So there was a few older folk there, but there wasn't that sort of sense that how good those young kids are going to be.
Yeah.
But we knew internally, of course, and we rolled out there, and those young kids, played really well.
Yeah.
And those young kids, mate, they weren't part of the '87 setup, So Laurie was just coming through, Brad and Lazo, but they got minimal time. And then '88, obviously, they got knocked out by the Tigers. Ellery Henley led Tigers, and then obviously, coming in '89, they were pretty confident.
Yeah. It's funny how you make mention of that fact, because I literally said on air earlier this week, we were talking about something about a team with young players, and you say, well, if you said now that Laurie Daly and Bradley Clyde and Ricky Stewart were in that Canberra Raiders side, you go, yeah. But at the time, they were playing their, not even 30 NRL games.
No, exactly. And Glenn Lazarus in the front row.
Yeah.
Man, he was, they're all young kids. Steve Wallace around young kids. So that was the '88, I guess, like you said, there's a bit of experience there, but made the finals. And there's those top 5. We've got to remember that it's similar like the Dogs, isn't it? So we're outside the Dogs are outside the top 4. We're outside the top 3. So something similar, I would suggest to you. And maybe it mightn't be this year, but certainly they're building towards something special.
So you could easily say in years to come, oh, that's right, they had Jacob Kiraz and Bronson Cherry and Matt Burton in there. He's
Preston,
probably
Preston's a good
Preston.
player. Sam Hughes is a great player, great young player. Yeah, so that Warren. So they got some kids there that, weren't household names until this year.
Yeah. I reckon there's the option of that for, hey, they had Drinkwater, they had a young Tommy Dearden who was just coming through, they had Helam Lukey and Jeremiah Nanai, and there's that little bit of feel about it for the Cowboys as well. Just on the back of that, we had that conversation about, we'll say, hey, what are we going to ask Mal? And we talked about it internally. And we thought about the Roosters' record against the Panthers and the Storm, right? It's horrible. So how do you change that when you go with a mindset? Can I tell you, Mal, that you played against the Balmain Tigers 12 times in your career, and you never beat them until extra time of the 1989 grand final. And then after that point, you never lost to them.
No, exactly.
Again.
Yeah, I know. No, we didn't. No, so we went to the grand final. One of my fondest memories, Jimmy, was we played the Tigers in a pre-season game at Goulburn, and I think we beat them something like 28-0 in that game. So that's just that. You just got to get over a little bit of the hurdle. You get that mental block you may have, that against playing against different teams, and once you do it, and it's like, there's at some stage, Jimmy, not too far down the track, I don't reckon. It could even be this year that a bottom 4 team will win the premiership.
Yeah, bottom of the 8. Yeah.
Yeah, bottom of the 8 will bring up. And I think the Cowboys are the dark horses of this competition. Like I said, I think the Roosters, prior to losing those 3 players, were, in my mind, the favourites. But I just think it's a fairly open race, considering the rosters of all the teams. The Storm have got a great spine and a great hard-working team around that spine. The Panthers with Nathan back, lost a lot of players in recent times. Some important players to their roster, but they've got more incentives this year. They've got a few players leaving. The Sharks, they got a point to prove, don't they? So about finals footy, and I just think the Cowboys, the way they went about their business last week against the Dogs, when they got both sides of the game, attack and defence right, they're going to be pretty hard to beat.
Best performance I've seen from them in 3 years, Mal.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why this week, I've been thinking about it, this week with the Cowboys, because their away form's been excellent. They hold no fears about going away, and they hold no fears about playing the top 8 teams. So I just feel that this weekend is such a crucial game for them at home, spurred on by their home crowds. I think Toddy Payton's out there enlisting all the crowd to, get behind the team and be a bit more aggressive in the way they support them, and let's get the Cowboys home type attitude. So they win this weekend, they win well, and they get both sides of the game well again. I just feel that they have no fear about coming down to Sydney or elsewhere to play footy.
That big win last week was important psychologically from that perspective too. They'll go back. It'll be a sellout. They chartered a flight that got them home straight away on the Saturday night. So they've got an extra day recovery on the Knights, who also have to travel, who had a really emotional high like the Dolphins had the week before. And it's all set up for the Cowboys to win well this weekend, I reckon.
I reckon that's what I think. I think this is why it's important. Now we touched on, obviously there's going to be a time and place when a team from the bottom 4 will come through and win a premiership, and I think the competition is wide open for that to happen this year, provided the Cowboys get through this weekend and they do well. They get both sides of their footy. They become a consistent footy team at the right end of the year.
Yes, yeah. I'll go back to Goulburn. On the 25th of February 1990, you won 26 points to 8 against the Balmain Tigers, but Chrissy O'Sullivan kicked 1 from 6. so you scored 6 tries to 1. So you did it very comprehensively. So
and it's just that catalyst, isn't it? The catalyst, and that's the belief that, hang on a sec, we've got them. It's time we can move on now.
Here's another one. Afternoon, Jimmy and Mal. An interesting stat that I've come across is that the Raiders haven't won a competition since Mal Meninga retired. That's from the Greenkeeping Rooster.
The Greenkeeping Rooster. So is he obviously a Rooster fan, or is he a Green fan? He's a Raiders fan.
Oh, right. No, he's a Roosters fan. Let's not confuse that, Mal. Yeah.
No, it's been a while, but, let's hope that one day, in the not too far future, that the Raiders, win the next premiership.
We talk about it on this program. Like Ray Price at Parramatta. Parramatta never made a grand final till he arrived, and they've never won one since he's left. And you're the same at the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah. Well, they have played in finals, so these grand finals, the Eels, so they know how to get there. And the same with the Raiders. They went there in 19, and like we say, they're going through a bit of a transition at the moment. But the good thing about, obviously I'm involved with the Raiders a little bit these days, is that they've got so many good young kids coming through, but they're still winning, Jimmy. So that's a really good sign in my mind, So those kids, they have their habits, they're forming habits in early stages of their careers, but the team is still doing really well. And they finished off the year, showing the DNA that the Raiders are renowned for. So it's going to be an interesting year in 25. We won't go too far in front of ourselves, but there's some up-and-coming teams, I think will, start pushing the top teams.
And they've got a couple of sides in the New South Wales Rugby League in the lower grades too that are playing this weekend.
They're going great. Yeah, lower grades, Jersey Flag. And they've sort of gone a little bit out the back door in the reserve grade. They were leading that competition till they've had 2 poor losses the last couple of weeks. So it'd be interesting to see how they recover from that. But they've been one of the dominant teams in the reserve grade, but certainly the Jersey Flag's way in front, and they've got some outstanding kids there.
Yeah, right. So Leichhardt Oval, they've got the Raiders up against the Bulldogs in Jersey Flag. That's on Sunday. And then in the knock-on effect, New South Wales Cup, Raiders up against the Panthers. That's on Sunday at Leichhardt Oval as well too. So if you're a Raiders fan in Sydney, there's somewhere to go. I want to ask you this, and he was almost the talk of the town after he, I don't know what it was, a kick, dropped it into his foot or whatever happened with Corey Horsburgh and the match-winning try against the St George Illawarra Dragons. But he was going to exit the club, then he was going to stay, then he was going to exit. There was talk of a blow-up. He's an emotional player. Ricky's an emotional coach. I just felt like it had the fingerprints of Mal Meninga all over it, the fact that they were able to sort out their difference. Did you get involved in that?
Oh, no, I had a bit of a chat to Big Red. I think he's an outstanding player, and just he had some issues, challenges through the year. Not even through the footy side of things, just personally, he had some challenges through the year.
Yeah.
He didn't start the year as well as he'd like. He had got those injuries, and he's had a couple of suspensions because he is a redhead. And he's very fiery. He can fire up and get sin binned or get suspended. So he's just had one of those up and down years and didn't quite get his attitude right, at times. So, and Ricky's, what Ricky's like, he's at times he can be. It's like a bit of tough, hard love, for Big Red. And they weren't seeing eye to eye, but, those sort of things happen just through the course of a year and, in any sort of walk of life, really, even in family. So you don't see eye to eye. And,
of course.
And you work your way through that. And, the funny thing at the back end of the year, when Big Red come back in, Ricky actually went to the senior playing group and said, listen, I think we need him. I think we need him to come into this footy team. Yeah. Because he's a point of difference. He's a big, skillful fella, and he can play long minutes. He's got this aggressive streak in him. Yep. And as we said on the weekend, wasn't the best at kicks. He's a left footer playing on the edge. I don't know what he's doing on the right edge. I know what he's doing over there. But it all fell into place, and everyone's happy. Ricky's happy. Yeah. Big Red's happy. So they've all made up. They've kissed up, and they've had a couple of hours together, and enjoying. And Big Red's going to stay.
There you go. I call it the Meninga experience. So I'm claiming that one. Well done. Well done. Just before we go to our first break, Mel, we've got lots to talk about today too. I can't wait to get to it. We're going to ask you which one player in history would you had the ability to clone them 13 times, so they had to play every position. Timmy Williams, Sammy Williams' younger brother, has put it out on social media, and we're looking at he reckons Greg Inglis. So you have to do everything: play on an edge, play out wide, play in the forwards, have size, strength.
That's an easy one for me.
Who?
Bradley Clyde.
Bradley Clyde is the first one that Matty White came up with.
Yeah, no, outstanding. You know, he can, as quick as an outside back, and and there's obviously his work rate was excellent in the middle. You know, so. And skillful big bugger, you know. So when you talk about speed and strength and ability, Bradley Clyde stands out for me by a long way. I've seen a recent interview with Billy Johnson. Now Billy's worked with some of the toughest, strongest, great characters in our game, and he said, and all his experience and all the people that he's played with and coached and trained. Bradley Clyde's a standout.
As an athlete?
As an athlete, but not only as an athlete, but just his work ethic and his ability. He used to win everything at the Raiders.
Yeah,
seriously,
wow.
Jimmy. Like he'd win a 100-metre sprint and then he'll go and win a K run, or he'd be lifted the heaviest in the gyms and things like that. And he was just outstanding athlete and. He was just an outstanding person, really, and he still is.
Yeah.
He's still around. So
I
just think that if you had to clone anyone, it'd be Bradley Clyde.
There you go. There's an answer for you. And then Dunny said this, hey, Mal, do you enjoy the suckathon that is the first 20 minutes of every show? So that's no need for that, Dunny.
Who said that?
Oh, Dunny. He's a plumber that supports the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Yeah.
Yeah, he starts carrying on. He calls us the suckathon, and he's called Dunny. Seriously. Right?
He says he's number ones at number twos. That's his slogan.
His number one is a number two. Makes sense.
Makes sense. Absolutely.
And it is dribbling out too, just quietly.